again. Welcome back to my playthrough of Greg Tech's New Horizons, where I futz around and do all for 20 hours an episode. Last time I left off placing something you might have read in the hotbar called a small cold boiler. That clip of me placing it, it was actually the last clip I had until the footage playing right now, with about 5 days in between. Luckily enough, you didn't miss out on much. I spent most of it editing, but for the portion that you did, let me catch you up. Okay, bear with me for a second. This is a decent amount of info, so lock in for me, will ya? First, there's two types of piping. The brown one you see coming from the roof, and the orange one you see going between the machines. The brown one is the first kind of pipe I made, wooden ones, of course. This is a fluid pipe, and of course only moves fluids. The orange ones are also fluid pipes. They're made of bronze, though. The reason I use the different ones is because linking a wooden pipe to the small cold boiler just straight up ignites it. And any fire near a machine causes the machine to blow up. So I almost blew up my machines the first time I turned the thing on. But if you connect it to the bottom, it works to pump the water in, so everything's fine. Bronze is temperature proof enough to let steam flow through it and to the other machines without, of course, causing an issue. Which, in order from left to right, is my steam macerator, my steam furnace, my steam compressor, and the one at the very end facing away being my steam alloy smelter. A question you might be asking is how these furnaces get water, and the answer is the water tank that's sitting above them. The wooden pipe that goes into the ceiling connects my boilers to the water tank, which passively fills up based on the humidity of the environment, because finally the humidity comes into play. Sorry about that. You can make this like the coke oven multi-block using sticky resin from the rubber trees I found while out and about. This collects up to 400 buckets worth of water over time. So let's talk about these machines in my basement and why they're so important. The importance of them is, well, let's go through them one at a time now that you know the names of them. Let's start with the steam furnace. In a normal furnace, one piece of charcoal cooks 8 items flat at a rate of 1 item every 10 seconds. So a stack of iron gets smelted using 8 charcoal in about 10.5 minutes. For the steam furnace, and I did need to crunch some numbers for this, takes about 3 charcoal to cook that same stack of iron. The problem is that it takes 12.8 seconds per item as compared to the regular furnace's 10 seconds, so it does take a lot longer the more items you need to smelt, but the trade-off is that it uses a third of the fuel overall to do it. As for the other items, they don't have hidden benefits behind math, so I'll run through it quickly to finish it up for you. The macerator is huge because it can take any raw ore and make 2 crushed equivalents of that ore, literally doubling my ore production with only time being the limiting factor. The steam compressor next to it doubles as 2 things. First, it lets me squish ingots into their block form, which is important to remember for later. This will be on the test. Make sure to keep that in mind and write that down in your notes. And second, it also lets me more effectively make things like seared bricks and normal bricks. The crafting table recipe needs a bucket of water surrounded by 8 bricks, but by using the compressor, I can completely remove the bucket, thank God, and only use 4 bricks per block conversion. Again, doubling the output of any bricks I need to make. The last one, the steam alloy smelter, lets me alloy things like copper and tin into bronze. Sadly, this thing kind of sucks. It burns through my entire stockpile of steam, which is about 50,000 steam, mind you, in literally a minute. And it only makes about 12 bronze as a result. I'll find a way to make it work, but by God, is it just better to throw it all into my smeltery and make 3 stacks in like 90 seconds without any hassle. Also, I haven't mentioned it, but these machines are so loud. I literally can't hear myself in the recording, and neither can you, which is why you're getting a voiceover. Next on the list is this bad boy, which is called the lumber axe. It's got double the durability compared to my modified normal axe and requires a tool forge to make rather than my tool station. This required a few things to make, like obsonite, which is a mixture of obsidian, steel, and zinc. It also required the iron blocks, but you remember how to make those, don't you? Told you it was on the test. The steel in particular was a hassle to get. I got extremely lucky because while I was going through that dungeon that I mentioned last episode, the big tower that had a spiraling staircase, I managed to find 14 bars of the stuff. This was enough to let me make the obsidian plates that I needed for the tool forge, and the result is this. Yeah, pretty good for a bit of quest book skipping. On top of that, this lets me make a hammer and an excavator. The hammer mines stone in a 3x3 radius, which is of course very useful for mining, and the excavator does the same but for dirt. Using leftover steel, I used it to make backpacks for myself to hold a ton of items and bring all of the steel I left in the dungeon back with me. This nets me even more steel in the process. Using these new tools, I decided to carve out a large space in my basement to fit more storage and any machines I may need to make in the future. I haven't decorated or even planned anything out yet. I just wanted to be able to see the cows I brought home growing up so I know to breed them again. While waiting, I decided to put the new leather and the scavenged steel to use and make something called a hang glider. This thing is awesome. Basically, if you're at any height above the ground, you can pull the hang glider out and drift back down to the ground with a remarkable speed. It looks even faster than sprinting at max speed, but I'm not entirely sure. In fact, I almost instantly found tech with this thing. When swimming, if you're sprinting in a 1 block deep pool, it'll burn your hunger like you're sprint jumping. But if you hold the glider, I guess it doesn't let you fall deep enough to hit the bottom, which negates the sprint jumping penalty. Why don't I just make a boat instead? I don't know. I just thought this was cool. Besides that though, there's a clear next step I need to take now that I have this. I need a big ass tower to jump off of. What if there's something cooler I can do? Like a cannon. Instantly after completing the hang glider quest, I'm given another quest which involves making something called a bounce pad. This is exactly as it sounds. Actually, it's not, but I'll get into that in a second. Problem with it is, I need to find a slime island to get the materials for it, and I don't have any known slime islands near me. Oh. Well, after taking a quick trip there and farming for about an hour, I steal the tree on the island and jump off the edge, gliding my way back home. Then I plant the saplings and build a roof to my house to keep the cannon on top of it. Finally, it's only been like 2 weeks since I made this house, and only now does it have a proper second floor. It was just a box in last episode's video. Like, I really don't know what I was thinking. Despite being called a bounce pad, these do not bounce the player in any way. I think how they work is that when you stand inside of them, they apply a vertical boost to the player. But if you land on top of them, it doesn't bounce. So, anyway, my brain started scheming, and I figured that if you could keep the player in the pad for as long as possible, then it would work better. And lo and behold, it does. So I spent a bit of time getting some more pads and made this, my wooden player launcher. It's not all that great yet, but I think with a bit more tinkering, I can get it to do much more than it currently does. Last on this week's happening is that I went around and looted a bunch of villages, which got me a bigger smeltery and bees. See, I have a bit of history with these pests because I was watching one of my bestest, most favorite YouTubers ever play his own run on a multiplayer GTNH server, and he spent a large portion gambling on these stupid insects only for it to blow up because he lost focus for a minute. It was like watching a master woodworker design a grandfather clock for his nice but also extremely rich friend, only to see it tumble out of the back of his truck and disintegrate on the pavement like it was made of Legos. Anyway, I will have to spend some amount of time learning how to make use of these vermin, because despite how I feel about them, I know they're very useful from the glimpse I saw in the NEI menu. Other than that, the next major progression point on my menu is getting a bricked blast furnace, or a BBF, so I can reliably get steel. My problem was that I needed literally 1,002 clay according to the quest, but thanks to those new machines I have, I can process clay blocks and terracotta into the clay I need. I am thankful for the terracotta in particular because apparently mountains are covered in this stuff, so I get to use my new cannon to fly over and hammer away the middle of it until I fill up my backpacks and then come back to finish the quest. But again, that's for next time. As an unstable gander would say, I am out of time, but thank you for yours. If you'd like to gift any useful advice or even just say the video was rad as hell, then please do so in the comments. If you feel like you enjoyed this week's update, then please like the video. Other than that, I hope you have a nice 4th of July weekend and a pleasant rest of your week. Goodbye!